average is the one that I was telling you on Bulletin 1055.1, grade point average report. That's the report that also the counselor must run it and give you the grade point average for the student. The Bulletin 1055.1 explains to us that the grade point average report must be run at the conclusion of the fall semester of the senior year for the students. So for example, in this particular situation or scenario that we are giving you, the grade point average was 4.5. And then the principal can either sign his or her signature or stamp the name with the signature stamp with black ink only. And only after all the graduation requirements have been met. Remember that it is the principal's, since the principal is responsible for the entire school, it is the principal's responsibility to either sign the cum manually or stamp with a signature stamp. No counselor, no clerical staff should be stamping or signing the name of the principal on section 7. I know it's very easy to do, but remember, the principal is certifying that the cum contains all the classes and that the student met all the graduation requirements for that particular year. So that's why it's extremely important for the principal to sign the cum. And then for the high school, you can either write the name of your high school with a black ink or stamp it with a school stamp. We used to stamp it with a school stamp. It was easier and faster, and that is allowable, okay? So this is the proper way to complete a section 7 for a secondary cumulative record for a student that graduated from high school. If you work in a middle school, you don't have to worry about any of the information on sections 5 or 6 or 7. Section 6 is given to us for extra semesters in senior high school. So remember that the current policy states that if the student fails any courses in 12th grade, in order for them to receive the original high school diploma, the students are allowed to continue to stay enrolled for one more semester or to go to another school and take the classes either on the summer or fall semester. So the students do have the current semester of the current school year for summer and fall in order for them to come back and bring us the missing credits. For example, the students that are that just graduated recently on June 21, they can still bring you back any, if they fail 2 or 3 classes or up to 4 classes, they can still bring you back the credits if they go to another school and make up the credits. They can go to adult school, of course, with the complete the class, but just make sure that the students get the authorization from the counselor, because sometimes the adult schools have different courses than what we require in our regular LAUSD school. So it's better for the student to work out with a counselor to see the classes that the student failed, and then if the student does complete it and bring us back the missing credits, the student will normally see the clerical staff in the counseling office. So if the student does come back, bring you the missing credits, make sure that you give those credits to the counselor to validate, of course, and then either the counselor or yourself will enter those grades into MISES system. The year-end flagging on MISES is not going to change. You're going to leave that alone. But then in the situation, you're going to post the final semester grades on section 6. That's why we are giving the extra semesters in senior high school. And then hopefully my suggestion for you, if you ever encounter situations where a student failed like 3 or 4 classes, my suggestion for you will be to leave in pencil the class rank for them, the number in class, and grade point average. In case the student comes back and bring you the missing credits, instead of writing you're going to give the student the original diploma that the student was entitled to receive, okay? But instead of writing the 6/30/20 graduation, that will be an exemption to the rule, because if the student comes back at the end of the semester, for example, on January 12, let's say, January 12, 2021. You're going to write a notation on section 7 that says diploma awarded on, and you enter the date 1/12/21. Of course, you're going to give the cumulative record to the principal to review, to sign for you, and then you can ink the rest of the information. But what if the student does not come back and bring us any missing credits? Then the student will be a non-graduate. We're gonna see the non-graduate in a couple of the next couple of slides. So this is a sample of the section 7 completed for a student who earned a certificate of completion. Notice how for the certificate of completion, there's no information indicated such as the class rank, number in class, or grade point average. That information is not required. So section 7, we just need to indicate certificate of completion and then the 630 of the graduation year. For example, for the class of 2021, you're gonna write certificate of completion 6-30-21. Since the rest of the information is not required, we draw a line for the class rank, number in class, you draw a line like that, GPA, you draw another line. Make sure that the principal still signs it or stamp it with the signature stamp and the name of your school. So this is the proper way of completing the secondary cumulative record for section 7 for a student who earned a certificate of completion. And if you're wondering, when can a student get a certificate of completion? Normally for students, for example, who are in special education program, if the goals on the IEP on the individualized education program indicate that the student will earn a certificate of completion, this will be the proper way of completing section 7 of the secondary cumulative record. Also, we could encounter a situation for a student who already completed a minimum of 10th grade or 11 perhaps, and the student now, if the student is in grade 11 and the student needs to start working, it's rare that it happens, but we could encounter a situation like that. And the district, the latest or the last time that the district gave us a memorandum was memorandum 053498, the 2018-19 California High School Proficiency Examination is called the Casp. If the student took that exam, the California High School Proficiency Examination exam, and passed it successfully, you will know because the school, either the counselor or yourself or someone in the school will receive the award letter from the California Department of Education. The award letter will say, student so-and-so and the birthday took the California High School Proficiency Examination and successfully passed it on, and it will give you a date. If you receive that letter, then you will proceed in completing section 7, like the way I already explained to you. File that letter inside the cumulative record envelope because now that letter will become part of the permanent record for the student. And sometimes the California Department of Education used to send a little, like a label saying, pass California School Proficiency Examination. Like I said, those cases rarely happen. But if it happens, then you know what to do. That label explaining that the student successfully passed the California High School Proficiency Examination gets posted on section 7 on this portion right here. All right. So those are the only two situations that we know that you could encounter where a student might earn a certificate of completion. At least by now, you know exactly how to complete the cum. I gave you that sample on handout number 6 as well. And I also posted the sample of the completed secondary cumulative record under job-based, under secondary cumulative records on the topic pages of organizational excellence. So you have 2 ways of accessing. Even if you don't hold on to your handout number 6, you can still download a copy from our topic pages. This is a sample of section 7 of a cumulative record for a non-graduate student that did not come back at the end of the fall semester to bring us their missing credits. Notice how this particular situation, this particular student had failed a couple of classes that were mandatory towards the high school diploma, did not meet the requirement, did not come back. At that point, at the conclusion of the fall semester, you can go ahead and erase your class rank, the number in class, and grade point average. The district policy states that for example, in June, you have students, if you have students that did not meet the graduation requirements, you write the non-grad in pencil. And now, fast forward, the student does not come back. And that's the time where I was telling you to leave the class rank, GPA in pencil, and number in class for a non-grad. And fast forward, summer comes, fall comes, student does not come back, then you can erase your class rank in pencil, the GPA, number in class, in pencil that was written, you erase it. And then the non-grad, now you can go and ink it in non-grad. Just like that, with the name of your school. Since the student did not meet the graduation requirements, then for a non-graduate student, the principal's signature is not required, okay? Again, you have a sample of this page on your handout number 6. And last but not least, we need to make sure that if we type or handwrote the secondary cumulative record, we need to make sure that we write the state identification number underneath the microfilm number box, just like the way I have it here. And you indicate it by marking SS ID number and the number that was assigned to the student. That's the state identification number, okay? Also, I'm sorry for that. We need to make sure that the student's cumulative record also includes the district ID number right above the microfilm number, because the district ID number will be the cross-reference number that the records unit will use to find the cumulative record once the cum is digitized at the records unit. So that's another notation for you. Do we have any questions on how to complete section 7 for a graduate student, for a student who earned a certificate of completion, or for an undergraduate student?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a few.
All right.
June 30th, 2021 for the grad year.
Mm-hmm.
But on the index card, since the exit date was 6/11, this is the date that I put on the card. Is that correct?
Yes. On the index card, you can indicate the last day of instruction, that's fine. But then on the cum, since officially in LAUSD, the school year ends on June 30th, we always have to write June 30th, regardless of when the graduation ceremony takes place. Remember how sometimes the graduation ceremony takes place like on June 12 or June 13, but the date is always on the cum section 7 is always 6:30 of the graduation year. And it is written with hyphens, no dashes, hyphens between it.
Also, it is the weight class rank or the official GPA class rank?
What was it again?
She's saying also it is the weight class rank or the official GPA class rank. She's asking which one to put on section 7, the weight class rank or the official GPA class rank?
The official GPA class rank. That report is run or must be run at the end of the fall semester. And that's per bulletin 1055.1.
What about if June 30th they lands on a weekend? Would that matter?
No, it has always been that policy, and it has never changed. So we just keep in mind 6:30 of the current year, regardless of when if it's a weekend or Saturday or just 6:30 of the current graduation year.
What about the WASC accreditation stamp? Is that stamp on the cum near section 7?
The WASC accreditation stamp is only for the school-based, only to indicate to the school that the school is a legitimate school that qualified to honor credits to the students. So the WASC stamp doesn't go absolutely anywhere on the cum. Thank you for asking that question, though.
If our campus has 4 SLCs, what will the number in class be according to each individual learning community or the total number of seniors in all learning communities?
It all depends on how the small learning communities are registered in the district. If, for example, in the school that I used to work, there were 2 LAUSD schools inside the campus and 1 charter school. But each individual school had their own Casp center. So therefore, each school had their own number in class assigned. But if there are small learning communities and assigned to the same Casp center, then the number in class will be the total of students in all the small learning communities. So that's how you can distinguish.
For the class rank and number in class, can we use the information that is printed on the transcript?
That's a very good question, but that's not what it is indicated on the CUM or on the bulletin 1055.1.
As long as it's the official transcript, it should match what is on the report.
Mm-hmm.
When does the student receive a certificate? Oh no, never mind, you already answered that.
Okay.
I also stamp graduated on the bottom right hand side of the CUM. Is that okay?
It's not a district requirement. Remember, we're giving you the policies written directly from the Cumulative Record Handbook. So there's no way, I haven't seen anywhere indicated that we must stamp it. The way that I just showed you, that's a proper way to indicate it. So don't do the extra work.
It says, let me just make sure that I'm hearing this correctly. LOL. And thank you for all this instruction. I'm learning so much.
Thank
so
you.
For a student that is definitely a non-grad, stamped and everything, we do not need the principal or assigned administrator to sign the community record, correct?
Correct. And that's because the student is not getting a diploma. The signature basically indicates that the credits, that the student earned the credits and the student met all the graduation requirements. That's why it is the principal's responsibility to sign it. Notice how section 7 says principal, doesn't say designate, it says principal signature. It's a principal's name on the line if the principal signs a CUM for a student that did not meet the graduation requirements.
The microfilm is the student ID number, the one with the letter with numbers.
It's the district ID number, so you can download a report from MySES with the district ID numbers, and then you can copy from the report and write it there. You can do it in high school. I've seen some CUMs from the clerical staff in middle schools are really good at writing the district ID number inside the microfilm number box. If that's the case and you get a CUM with the number already written, then that's good. That means they did part of your job for high school.
And no more questions. Just thank you so much. Great teaching. Appreciate your help.
Okay. We still haven't finished. We have quite a bit more information to provide you. So,
okay. So no more questions.
Thank you so much. Let's continue. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the different testing label cards that are in place. Some of the testing label cards are no longer in place. They haven't decommissioned, but we still have to provide you the information in case you encounter situations where the testing labels have not been posted. So let's take a look at that. So for example, one of the testing label cards that if the student took the start testing labels and the start testing labels are still in the CUM, you leave them there because they are permanent record. Notice how, if we already saw the sample of the CUM that indicated that the start testing label for 7th and 9th grade are posted on the CUM, so we saw that. But the most important thing for you, my message to you is if the CUM contains the start testing label card, leave it in the CUM because it's a permanent record. And then the Casp, this is a sample of the Casp results. The Casp replaced start testing. So the Casp, right now, we don't have labels for Casp, but we have the testing results that look like this. For example, this is a sample of the one for grades 3 through 8th grade. This is what it will look like. I gave you your own sample on handout number 7. And on handout number 7, I even included for you that record retention period. I listed for you there that we must retain it inside the CUM for a period of 5 years. After 5 years, the result sheets can be shredded. But you just make sure that they are the ones that look like this, okay? And then for grades, this is the sample of the California Science, the California Assessment, and California Science Test for grades 10 through 12. And again, I gave you another sample of this one on handout number 8 that I emailed you guys last night. And we also retain this for a period of 5 years. So for now, if you work in a middle school, leave it there. If you work in a high school and it has a file, keep it in the CUM until probably when you get ready to send the CUM for digitizing, this particular sheet will be shredded, but not until then, in 5 or 6 years from now. So for now, let's keep it in the CUM. Next, we are going to see a sample of the famous California English Language Development Test. This exam has been decommissioned, has been replaced by the famous LPAC. However, if the cumulative record contains 1, keep it in the CUM because it is a permanent record. I gave you your sample on handout number 9, okay, and indicated for you the instructions that this stays filed in the CUM permanently. Another testing sample of the exam is the famous LPAC exam that replaced the CELT that we just saw. I sent you a sample of it on handout number 10. This one is another one that is kept in the CUM permanently. So this is on handout number 10. I gave you a sample of the front side of it, and this is the way that it is completed. Again, if the student was tested in the LPAC exam was used, if the CUM did not contain 1, you can create one and file it inside the CUM. This one can be ordered directly from the reprographic services unit. And I gave you on the form, it has the website for you to order it from the reprographic services unit. Of course, the school will pay for the charges to reproduce it. And then, so that's handout 10. This is the back side of handout 10. The back side contains grades 5 through 12. This particular example shows results for LPAC results for a student that took the LPAC exam in grade 10, and you will know because the grade will be indicated, grade 10, and then for grade 11. So you just post it in the appropriate grade and keep it filed in the CUM permanently. And this is a sample of handout number 11 that I sent you last night, a sample of the California High School exit examination. This examination has been decommissioned. The famous Casey has been decommissioned for several years. However, if for any reason the cumulative record for high school contains the Casey result, which by now I don't think the CUM should have it, but if it does, just keep it there permanently. All right. Do we have any questions on the filing of the testing label cards for Casp or any of the examinations that we saw?
Yes.
Okay.
It says, can I include the district ID and the student state ID and the student name community label?
If the label contains the state identification, you don't have to manually write it underneath the microfilm number box. However, inside the microfilm number box, I do still suggest that you manually write the district ID number because, like I said, the records unit will use that number as a cross-reference file to find the cumulative record for the student faster.
It is my understanding that we no longer will be getting those because there are recurrent misses. Is that correct? She's talking about the Casp.
That you are no longer going to be getting the result sheets?
Because they're already on MISES.
Yeah, you can, the testing coordinator has access to the result sheets, and in case the parents ask for it, or I don't know if the instructions for the testing coordinator indicate that you guys must send a copy to the parents. But if that is the case, then the school has the responsibility to bring one to file in the queue. Because remember, we have to keep one copy in the queue for a period of 5 years. So what is going to be different is that you are no longer going to get the results from the state or from the district. So probably that responsibility has been now delegated to the school coordinator to print them and give them to you to file one copy in the queue and keep it in the queue for 5 years.
Next one. Who's responsible for placing the OPAC labels? Is the custodian of the records or the EL coordinator?
No, it's a clerical staff responsibility, dear ladies and gentlemen. If the OPAC coordinator is the one doing it for you, just keep it quiet. It's not their job, but they're doing your job. But good questions.
No more questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rocio. So now the student health records. This is a sample of the student health record. We need to make sure that we pull the student health record, whether you work in a middle school, make sure that you pull it out and file it inside the cumulative record somewhere in the process. This is a permanent record. If you work in a high school, follow the same concept of pulling it out from the nurse's office and file it inside the cumulative record, because this one, the Casp health card, will also be sent to the records unit for digitizing. And I sent you a copy of it last night on handout number 12 with the specific instructions. And here is another resource for you. On handout number 13, this is a sample of the most current and recent California school immunization record. This is what it looks like. This one, we strongly recommend that you print it on blue paper, cardstock if possible. And this is a permanent record. It stays in the queue permanently. This is the new version of it. And if you get brand new students to LAUSD, or if you have any of your students for 8th graders or 12th graders that were newcomers to LAUSD, hopefully you were able to complete one or printed one from Welligent system. If you have access to Welligent, you can download it and print it. The one from Welligent will look like the older version, but either the queue will have either the one on handout number 13 or the older version of the California school immunization record, such as this one on handout number 14. This is similar to the one that prints out from Welligent system. Again, whether the queue has the new version or the older version, which is this one, both forms are acceptable forms. So make sure that the queue, either for 8th graders or 12th graders, contain one on file. Do we have any questions on how to prepare the health cards, or basically making sure that the queue contains one, or the California school immunization record for students who culminated from 8th grade or 12th grade?
No questions on the chat.
Okay, very good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So let's continue. And now some additional resources for you. We talk about most of the procedures for the queues to properly complete the queues for either for the students who culminate from middle school or the students who graduate from high school. But what about this is your extra, your bonus that we put together for you, the additional student clearance procedures, making sure that we run, hopefully by now, the students are clear from all the depths, but if we didn't clear them, we need to make sure that we run a report from the testing assistants for all the students to make sure that the student if they owe any money for lost or damaged textbooks, hopefully by this time the school already has a system in place to collect the money, especially for students that are in the 12th grade. And because according to district policy, the school for 12th graders, we can hold on to the diploma until the student pays or the parents pays the payment for last library books or textbooks. In other words, until all the debts are clear. Also, if the student culminated from 8th grade, make sure that the students clear from any debts from textbooks or library books, because if we clear them from 8th grade, when they culminate from 8th grade, when they get to high school, at least the students don't have to worry about past due debts from middle school now carrying them forward to high school. So this is the extra information I put together for you. Also, at the end of the semester, hopefully we collected all the textbooks for the students who culminated from middle school, and hopefully we clear their debt in Destiny system accurately. And hopefully we collected the textbooks for the 12th graders as well and clear their debts in Destiny, so that way the poor students don't have to pay any debts for last library or textbooks, because we didn't accurately clear them their debts in the system. And these are some samples of organization folders that will help you to stay organized. For example, a folder to indicate, and this is just some suggestions, to create a folder for the inventory of your textbooks, print the reports for that, so that you know how many textbooks you have available for the new school year to assign to the students. Because remember, by law, we have to provide the students within the first 10 days of the school year the textbooks for the new semester. So if we are keeping the good inventory of the textbooks, then we're going to know what textbooks are available for the next school year. And then the pending payments, inventory of pending payments, so that way you know exactly what the student owes. And then once the student pay or clear the debts, then you might want to have another report for the clear debts, so that way there are no misunderstandings and the student can pick up their diploma successfully, and the procedure will be very smooth for the student. Also, if the librarian, some schools have a librarian, maybe the librarian will have like a pending payment for library books and another folder or file for clear debts from library books. These are some suggestions for you to share even with your librarian, in case the librarian doesn't have a good system of keeping track of the lost or damaged library books. Okay. Do we have any questions on student clearance procedures?
Yes, Ms. Ann, and we have one from the previous section.
Okay.
If the help card only have the student name, shall we still file it?
Make sure that you complete also the immunizations from the copy of the immunization record, because if the health card only contains the student's name, then it's a partial completion, you know? So we want to make sure that, remember, because what we're doing now, that the students culminated or graduating, we want to make sure that these CUMs are completed accurately. So when we send them to the records unit for digitizing, they will be kept digitized and completed properly, and they will be retained forever. And the health card is one of them.
Next one. Who runs the report to see what fees are owed?
It normally is the administrator who oversees the textbooks in the school that will determine, along with the school administrative assistant. In some of the schools, they have like a dedicated office technician that supports the textbook program at the beginning and at the end of the semester. So each individual school will create a system. On other schools, they have a coordinator that helps them. But again, it goes back to the principal and then the SAA at the school site deciding who will be the one responsible for that.
Yes. Next one. Can we hold a cum if the student doesn't return devices or hotspots?
Okay. According to the LAUSD policy indicated on the Cumulative Record Handbook, and I don't quite remember the other reference guide, but I know for sure it's in the handbook. I believe it's also in Bulletin 6887.1 that indicates that if the student owes any fines to the school, an official transcript or information can be retained from the student or the parent, but it cannot be retained from institution to institution. So that answers that question. Okay.
No more questions.
Okay. Great. Okay, let's continue. So what is our number one role in LAUSD for all our students is to graduate every student from LAUSD. And your role and responsibility in that process is extremely important. Whether you work in middle school, you are preparing the students to graduate from high school. So your role is really important if you work in middle school. If you work in a high school, of course, then you are also directly responsible for making sure that on your end, that all the cumulative records are properly completed for every student so that we can, on paperwork, we can reflect their and contribute to their successful graduation from our LAUSD schools. So your role is really, really important. So here are some additional resources for you that I listed for you in case you ever need to refer to them. You have this page with your resources. Here are more references available for you. And then I'm going to walk you through the process to see or download any resources from Organizational Excellence by going into www.oetraining.net. Once we follow that procedure, you're going to see the cover page of the new topic pages, the web page for Organizational Excellence. We are going to click on Employee Resources. And then once we follow that instruction, I wanted to let you know that I put together a little job aid and I emailed it to you on handout number 15. Okay. In case, since this is a new web page, I wanted to make sure that you have the instructions written for you so that you can download the resources from our topic pages. So handout number 15, gives you that instruction. So once we follow that procedure, we're going to see a page that looks like this, just-in-time learning resources. You can click on Start Learning, and guess what? You're going to find the page that has all the topics. And the one that I was, through our class for today is going to be the cumulative records for secondary schools. We click on that one, and then you will see a lot of resources there for you, like the copy of the completed cumulative record that we talk about through the session today. Under Jabez, you can find it. And we also, I'm sorry that it keeps going back for me. And also you can find other resources that my colleagues have put together for you. So please do take the time to visit the new topic pages of Organizational Excellence. We do have a wealth of information for you in a lot of variety of different topics there. So in review and summary, by now we have a better understanding of our role and responsibilities when it comes to the maintenance, preparation, and organization of the student cumulative records after our students culminate from middle or high school. And by now we are able to describe the process for the preparation of the testing label cards, health cards, and also learn the importance of having a secondary cumulative record for every student who attended our middle school or graduated from our senior high schools, 12th graders. So with that said, guess what? We want to thank you for participating in today's session. We thank you for all your hard work, dedication, your professionalism. We thank you for attending courses like this to stay up to date with current policies and procedures. We truly wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys out there that request our services. And we want to also thank you for making a positive difference in the lives of all our students in LAUSD, parents, teachers, your school community. Your role is really, really important at every capacity at your school. And we truly appreciate you. So with that said, are there any additional questions before we open the floor for general questions?
They just asking, will another session for this particular course will be scheduled again for over the summer?
We have one coming up. Let me see. We do have scheduled, I believe. Let me see, in July, I think. Let me see. We do have this class available, but I don't have the